grew up with my cousins. I grew up with a lot of family friends. I had a lot of love growing up, if that isn't obvious. I just want to make that point. And I always felt really good about who I was. I actually felt completely normal. And that was something that always got on my nerves a bit. I felt completely normal, but society was the one with the issues and the biases, not me. What biases and issues am I talking about? Well, New York State is still fighting for gay marriage. Other states are still fighting for gay marriage. Every time someone gets the rights to gay marriage, they turn it over. Other legal issues. My mom has been with this woman for coming on 19 years. Think about that. Some of you are in relationships, wow, 1 year is a big deal. They've been together for 19 years. They've raised a kid. They're still not legally married. They have a domestic partnership that they got when I was in college. And that was a big deal because that at least allowed them some rights. But, it's still not perfect. When I got married, all my husband had to do was show our marriage certificate and I'm on his health insurance. My mom and my mom's wife actually have to pay extra for those rights, for my mom to be on her wife's health insurance. That's ridiculous. Throughout the media, you see nothing but homophobic comments. I know last night I was watching, I'm a fan of Top Chef Desserts, and there are some characters on there who are very homophobic. They make constant comments about, it's not even that they say the wrong thing, it's just that they'll say something like, I remember one character said, oh, he needs to turn down his voice, he needs to turn it off. Well, how do you know that just because that man is gay, that that's not his natural voice? Why should he change himself to make you feel comfortable? There's also something that I actually recently learned about called heterosexism, the assumption that everyone is straight. I mean, I'm sure we all fall into that category. You don't necessarily think that someone might be gay when you meet them. And also, don't ask, don't tell. The fact that we're getting rid of people who have great skills because, oh my God, we found out that they're gay. They got rid of someone who knew how to speak Arabic. And they didn't just get rid of him, they ended his military career. They basically said, you're dishonorably discharged. That looks bad on a resume, people. Next question. How has society affected you in growing up? Well, it was difficult. The laws discriminated against my family. I told you earlier that I would explain the whole sisters and brothers thing. Well, here's what I mean. When I was growing up, when I met a couple who was gay, my family would say that they were sisters. My mom and dad would say they were sisters or brothers about the couple. So if I met someone like, I remember we had Paul and Joe were brothers. And I look at them and I hadn't taken advanced science yet, but I knew these people weren't brothers, they sure don't look alike. But the thing is, that's what was acceptable by society at that point. When my mom and Sandra were looking for an apartment, they've been in the same apartment since I was 11. When they were looking for that apartment, they had to lie and say that they were sisters. They don't look alike. But you can't walk up to someone and say, me and my wife and our kid want to move into your apartment. It just doesn't fly well. Yes, there are laws to protect against discrimination like that, but who really checks? What are you going to do, get a lawyer? They'll find a reason not to give you a place, believe me. Also, another thing, there was always, I was unsure how to introduce Sandra to new people that I met. Understand, in my house, she was a parent. She was a parental figure. She had rights and say over me. But for outside the house, sometimes I still refer to her as Aunt Sandy, which was a little bit confusing because aunt and mom have two different meanings. But she we had to be careful, because if we weren't among friends, we weren't necessarily going to put ourselves out there to be abused, would you? Also, there was always something to explain to someone. Normal for me, but strange for everyone else. When I first met my husband, I realized I had to be upfront with him, about my family. And so he surprised me. He showed up at our college. We went to the same college. And he surprised me and showed up and took me out on a nice little date. And towards the end of the night, I realized, I gotta tell him what's going on. So I said, sit down, I need to talk with you. He said, okay. And I said, before we go any further, there's some things you need to know. I said, all right. I said, my mom and my dad are divorced. That's how I started. My mom and my dad are divorced. He said, really? I was, well, so are mine. I said, yeah. Well, he said, my mom had an affair, sort of speak. And he went, oh, well, that happens. I mean, people don't always get along. My mom and dad they just split up. They don't like each other. I said, all right, well, my mom had an affair with a woman. And he went, oh. Okay, well, actually, my uncle was gay, so great. When do I get to meet them? He just has always been very supportive and loving and understanding. But again, it was always something to explain to people, which is the annoying part. There was also very little help when I was growing up. I'm 25 years old. I'm dating myself, but I'm 25 years old, and there wasn't always a lot of help. I actually found out that those counseling sessions I went to ended up in case studies. I don't know which case studies, that would kind of be confidential, but the point is, I ended up in case studies because there just weren't that many people, that many couples showing up with children who said we need counseling because we have a step-parent issue, but we're gay. How do we deal with this? It's different. Next question. Is mom cool with Diane? Diane is my dad's girlfriend, and she is the most open-minded, loving, caring person. She's one of the most loving, caring people that I know. She happens to have a son. One of her sons is gay. And as far as I can tell, Mom and Diane absolutely love each other. They get along great. Actually, it was kind of funny. At our wedding, they thought it would be cute, and I thought it was adorable. Mom and Dad did a dance together. Diane and Sandra did a dance together. Diane and my mom did a dance together, and Sandra and Diane did a dance together. Everybody just switched up that whole wedding. It was lots of fun. Mom and Dad are still friends. They look at the fact that, even though they didn't work out, they came together to make me. They loved me. They're parents together, and they felt that that was a good reason to keep things honest with one another. I mean, you can't get much more honest than these three. This is a fun one. I read this one and I thought, oh my God, okay. Let me choose this one. Did you ever feel as if you had any type of feelings towards females? I'd say yes and no. I did question it. I found out through psychology classes, most people question their sexuality at one point. It's how you determine who you are. It's how you figure things out. And my mom, although she is gay, she's told me she feels